Buying a home for a big dummy. Just kidding, you're not a dummy. But I'm gonna break down buying a house into the most simplest terms I can possibly make it. I work with first-time home buyers a lot. I love working for first-time home buyers, answering all their questions and the excitement that comes with it. But I'm going to break it down to as simple as I can possibly make it, what it looks like to buy a house and what isn't really completely on you, what is on a realtor, what is on a loan officer, and what even is a realtor do? What does a loan officer do? I am Morgan Turner, your Greater Dayton local expert in realtor. Let's get into it. What does a realtor even do? They are not just a glorified door opener. They do not just show you into the house and then just, that's it. Like there is so much that realtors do that I don't think people think about. First off, they are an expert in the area that you're purchasing in, usually. Hopefully you find a realtor that is an expert in the area that you're most excited about and want to live in. They also are doing negotiations for you and they represent you in the best of their ability to the other party, which would be the listing agent and their seller. Kind of what realtors do is they put a gap between buyer and seller because there's so much emotion involved sometimes with homes and negotiations. And I think the realtors just, they separate it and they make it like a professional negotiation practice. Realtor is gonna know when the home is overpriced. They're gonna know what red flags to look out for. And they're also gonna have access to the MLS. The MLS is the multiple listing services where you can find all houses on the market on the MLS. They'll be able to pull comps, which comps is just a comparable, making sure that the house that where it's listed and what it's listed for is also what it should be for that neighborhood and that it's not overpriced or underpriced, them trying to get you to really push the price up. Also, there are so many moving parts in a real estate transaction. I mean, the connections that realtors have to have with loan officers, roofers, inspectors, termite people, radon people, a plumber, an electrician, a title company, homeowners insurance. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. And I think it's a really big deal having a realtor that has multiple connections and they always have someone that they can call, that they trust, and they know that it's gonna represent the buyer as well as the realtor is representing the buyer and as well as the buyer wants to be represented. So what is a loan officer? And sometimes it's also called just the lender. The lender is the bank on who is lending the money. The loan officer is the one representing you. A lot of people use that term interchangeably and I actually am guilty of it, but technically the term is supposed to be loan officer. You get the money from the lender, the bank. It's like the house of the loan officer, if that makes sense. But basically the loan officer helps you apply for a mortgage and they look for what is the best product for you as a buyer, what is going to make the most sense in 5 to 10 years, how long do you plan on living in this house, and they're going to just take a look at all your ins and outs and try to figure out what the best deal is for you. Number 3, everyone asks, who do I contact first, the loan officer or the realtor? The loan officer is going to say you technically should be talking to them first because I'll get into that in a second. But the realtor, myself, is going to say you need to talk to me first. The reason being, when you go to purchase a house with your contract that you send over, you have to also submit your pre-approval letter. Your pre-approval letter is basically a letter from the bank saying, we are giving you the money to purchase this house. We are going to lend you the money to purchase this house. And it's like a verified letter saying that you are good to purchase. Now, I'm not gonna get into the weeds that do you need a pre-approval letter in order to write an offer? Just assume yes. Because first of all, you need to know what your budget is. And you also need to know what you can actually get approved for. Even though your budget, you're like, you know, I wanna be within a $200,000 payment. You may not be able to get approved for a $200,000 house payment, if that makes sense. What I'm gonna tell you though is speak to your realtor first because they're going to be able to tell you the entire process, basically what I'm doing right now, of what a transaction looks like. And then they're gonna be able to get you in contact with a lender that may fit your needs best. Realtors should give about 3 different options to you on a lender that you would like to work with. And a lot of times what I see is, I mean, not always with first-time home buyers, but a buyer will come to me and they're already approved, and that's great. But sometimes they're approved with a bank that's like a huge bank. The loan officer doesn't work weekends, doesn't work after 5. You know, it takes 24 hours to get a hold of them. Once you go under contract, you're speaking with 12 other people throughout the transaction. You don't know who to talk to. You have a question. You don't know how to get back to it. That can be really stressful, especially as a first-time home buyer when you don't know where to go. And sometimes the realtor can't always answer the question. Like, that's between the lender. I always call it a lender, but it's technically a loan officer. It doesn't really matter. But that's really those conversations about like what you can afford, how much you need in closing cost, all of that is between you and your lender. And then just some of it is, shared with me so that I know how to write your offer. But you need a lender that is going to be there for you on the weekends or after 5 when on a Saturday morning we're writing an offer and we're against 5 other people and we can't have that loan officer call and say, hey, they're a great buyer, they're super qualified, because they're not working weekends. Like, that's a huge, big thing. Now, obviously, if the product is the best product, it is what it is, and let's make it work. But just at least hear out who your realtor's preferred loan officers are, because they've probably worked with them, they trust them, and if they're recommending them to you, that they're representing themselves. Also, reaching out to a realtor before the lender is also a good thing, because you can ask all those upfront or the realtor will be able to ask those upfront questions as far as like, where are you currently living? Are you in an apartment? Are you in a lease? Do you have to break your lease? When will your lease be up? What does that all look like? What areas are you looking in, and what's the price range you're thinking, so that they can kind of set those expectations about what it's going to look like from here on out. The realtor stands by your side through the entire transaction. The lender does too, don't get me wrong, but the realtor is the facing one that you're going to see the most and you're going to talk to the most as well. So to answer the question from the get-go, do you contact the realtor or the loan officer first? I'm going to tell you the realtor, but the realtor is going to get you in contact with the loan officer, because that's the first step before you can go and purchase the house. Okay, so you have your pre-approval letter, you found your realtor, you have your letter from the bank saying, yes, you are able to afford a $200,000 house. What do you do now? It is time to shop. This is the fun part. You're going to go and you're going to look at all these houses. But first, let me reel it back in. You do need to have another conversation with your realtor. You need to determine what your wants and needs are in a house within your budget. With a lot of the first-time home buyers that I work with, I sold 20 first-time home buyer homes last year. The average sales price of that was $215,000. Now, in the area I'm at, Dayton is like, the houses aren't super expensive compared to other states. So if you're watching this from another state and you're like, oh my gosh, $215,000, like that sounds really low, but you can get a decent house for $215,000 here. So if they're qualified for, let's say $215,000 and they're wanting a 4-bedroom in this really nice school district, they're not, like, I have to kind of accept that expectation. You may not be getting that, just because when it's a higher range school district, the prices are higher in general. So just setting those expectations with you, your realtor should be able to do that with you. And then your wants and needs. So like, you're saying you want a 4-car garage, or a 4-bedroom house. You want, at least 2,500 square feet. You want a 2-car garage. You want a big backyard with a fenced in. It's just reeling it back into what your actual needs are, especially if you're a first-time home buyer within a tight budget. You have to know what you can actually get. Now, stemming off of that, a lot of times I will say to my clients, I'm going to set up a search for you on the MLS, and I'm going to send you all the homes. You tell me that you want a 3-bed within these 5 to 7 areas, whatever that looks like, and you must have a garage with it, okay? I send you those homes and you're only getting maybe 2, and they're 2, 3, 4, and they're all fixer-uppers. They need like a lot of work. That's saying that within your budget and what you're wanting for a 3-bed, 2-car garage, all of that, it may need to be reeled back in. A lot of times I'll do my MLS because I'm going to stick to the budget you tell me, right? If you tell me $200,000, I'm not going to push you to go over that budget. But if you're on Zillow and you're seeing that, okay, if we up our budget to maybe 210, we may be able to get what we want. And that's something for you to decide within you and your phone on that side of on that side of all of this transaction. Now, if you come to me and say, okay, we're actually looking on Zillow and we see that our expectations are a little high, we need to up our budget a little bit to like 210 and we'll be able to get what we want, then let's have that conversation, and then I will go ahead and change mine. So I always tell my buyers, look on both. You do your own research on Zillow if you do have the time to do that. And then I'm going to also do my research on the MLS, so that, because I don't want to push you out of your budget, but you may be able to get more looking at like more of what you're wanting. If you look at your budget and you say, okay, 210, my monthly payment's really not gonna go up that much. Let's consider it. But I'm not pushing that budget, y'all, so that's for you to decide. Okay, so you have your approval letter. You have found some homes on the MLS. You found some homes on Zillow. Oh, another point I wanted to make about Zillow is that a lot of times the for sale by owners are on Zillow. So they're not gonna be on the MLS. So if there's a house out there that's only for sale by owner and you like it, you don't wanna miss that opportunity. So that's why I want you looking on Zillow as well. Step 5, showings. So you find a few houses that are high contenders and you could see yourself living there and you would like to go take a look at them in person. A lot of times people get confused on showings as to who do I call? I don't know who I'm supposed to call. Usually your realtor should be pretty like transparent and clear about which I never thought I needed to be transparent and clear, but a lot of people just genuinely don't know. So when you see a house that you like and either you're driving down the road and you see a sign in the yard or you're on Zillow and you see this person, call this person to see a showing today, whatever it looks like, call your realtor that you've chosen to work with. That realtor is representing the seller. So in some states, you can't have the list agent, which the listing agent is the one representing the seller. You can't have the listing agent also represent the buyer. Now in Ohio, you can. Is it for your best interest? Not always, because that agent at that point is kind of, I have to represent both sides here. So they can't tell you what the sellers, what the lowest the sellers is going to take and the buyers are saying, what do you think we should offer? And what do you think the sellers are saying? Well, I do know what the sellers are saying. You're representing both sides, so it can kind of get confusing. What I'm saying is just reach out to your agent. If you have questions about the house, how old is the roof? How long has it been on the market? Text your agent, email your agent, call your agent, whatever that looks like for you. That is your agent representing you because they want the best in your interest, right? They're going to collect all those questions that you have. They're going to get answers for that for you. They will schedule the showing for you. They will take you through it. They'll set all of that up. So when you see a house that you want to, when there is a house that you want to see, you reach out to the agent that you have picked. And also I'm going to do a whole other video on like more first-time home buyer tips, but this is just the basic is like what it looks like getting through the whole contract. So you've been looking for houses. Sometimes you can look for houses for months. So you do find the house that you like. What do? I want this house. What am I supposed to be doing right now, right? You're going to tell your agent you are ready to write an offer. I like this house. It's listed for $190,000. I'm approved for $200,000 and I want to write an offer on this house. Now, a whole offer is going to look different for every state that you're in, even down to every market that you're in. Not even like the markets. I mean, there's Springfield, I don't want to say completely different, but still different. And it's like so crazy because they're only 20 minutes from us and they're operating differently. You're going to tell your agent you want to write on this offer. She or he is going to walk you through the purchase contract and what all of it means. What are you signing yourself up for? What are you asking to stay in the property? What are you asking the seller to contribute to this deal? What is your purchase price? I mean, all of that is going to be with your agent. And also your agent should help guide you to offer the best for that house. How many offers are we against? If we really want this house and this is the best one, what is the highest price that you could go over on the list price of the house that you're comfortable with? And then they can also, add in escalation. I'm not going to get into all that. It gets really confusing because we're just talking about the basics here. But your agent should be able to help guide you a little bit onto what to offer, depending on how many offers you're against, how long the house has been on the market, the condition that it's in, etc. So another thing that I think a lot of people get confused about is, do the inspections come first or does the offer come first? The offer comes first. You commit to the house and then you get the inspections. A lot of times people think that's flopped. So your inspection is for habitability, safety, and structure of the home. They are not going to tell you, oh, this crown molding looks like crap and that should have been done differently. This paint was done very poorly and yada, yada, yada. No cosmetic repairs on an inspection. These are for habitability, structure, and safety. Now, don't freak out when you get your inspection back because sometimes it's going to be like 20 to 25 pages, right? Not all of those things need fixed. A lot of that can also be homeowner just typical maintenance, right? And it's also things that you may have seen during your walk. So like if an outlet is missing a cover, that may be something that you're like, okay, I can buy a $2 cover and take care of that. once I move in. You know what I mean? That's not something you would have to hire an electrician for to add that on. So you're looking for those big deals, like if a panel box is super outdated and it's about to just go at any minute. That's something that you could ask for. Your general inspector is going to look all over, and then you can ask for individual inspectors. For example, if the HVAC is really old and the general inspector is like, yeah, it's old, like I think it's like maybe on its last leg, then maybe you want to have an HVAC specialist come in and do a test on the HVAC too. Now that can all start getting really pricey, and I'm going to talk about that in another video about tips for home buyers. This is just the basics. What are we looking for from top to bottom when you're purchasing a home, and what does that look like going through it? So yeah, like I said, when you get your inspection back and it's 15, 20 pages long, don't freak out, because some of them can be very minor issues, and a lot of them could be fixed just with a handyman once you close, or even, I mean, if you want to ask for it, you can. That's really up to to you and your agent on how you want to negotiate things. But yeah, I want to reiterate that you cannot ask for cosmetic repairs on an inspection. You get your inspection report back, you look at all of the defects that are on there, you pick out the ones that are important to you that you want fixed, you make that list, you submit it to the sellers. I would like this to be repaired. There's different ways to go about that. You can ask for credit. I want my person to go out there and do that. That begins the inspection negotiations. So you just go through the inspections, the seller says, yeah, we'll fix this, we won't fix this, and then it just goes back and forth and you guys come to an agreement. So that is the inspections in a nutshell. Okay, so you just got through inspection, what's next? I don't close for another 2 weeks. What's next on this? The appraisal. A lot of times the appraisal is going to be ordered during the inspection sometimes. That's in Ohio, I can only speak for Ohio, the Dayton market. I don't know anywhere else. And especially depending on how long your inspection period is. What is an appraisal though, right? Okay, they're throwing all these words around. What is an appraisal? The appraisal is coming from the lender. So the lender, which is the bank, saying, okay, we're gonna lend you this money for $200,000. You're under contract on this house for $200,000, and the house is listed at $190,000. They're going to hire an appraiser to go out, take a look at the house, see the condition of it, look at comparables within the neighborhood, within the school district. What is the house worth in the appraiser's eyes? Now the appraiser can come back and be like, all right, they're good. They're buying this house for $200,000. It's worth $200,000. Keep it moving. And then you're good. You're moving on. If the appraiser comes back and says you're short appraised, which means the house is listed at 190, you're offering $200,000. The appraiser says it's only worth 190. You're now in a whole new negotiation with the seller on the appraisal aspect of it. Now, depending on if you're FHA or VA, there could be a little bit more that goes in with the appraisal that I'm going to let your realtor talk to you about, because that just gets into the deeper weeds of it. But that is appraisal in a nutshell. So you get through your appraisal, you're through inspections, you have the house, you're like, I am ready to close, I am ready to move in. Where are we at? Where do we stand? What's next? Your closing is approaching. One thing I want to know about just closing in general, just from the beginning of this entire conversation, make sure you're getting your documents back to your loan officer as soon as possible. Your closing will be scheduled by your agent. They will go ahead and get that all taken care of with everybody. It'll tell you when and where to be. It's super simple. The closing day is super fun, super exciting, especially for a first-time home buyer. And the title company is going to close you. You're like, okay, we just talked for 27 minutes about all of this and I never heard one thing about a title company, because the title company is in the back end of it. What a title company does is they're going to check all of the previous ownership of the house and make sure that no one has any interest still in the property. So say, someone passed away and they sold the house and they have 3 kids that are sharing this house, right? And they all have an ownership in this house. They want to make sure that that is all cleared before it passes to you, because once it passes to you, that is now a part of your situation now. So the title company keeps you free and clear. Now, before you do the closing table, you're going to probably do a final walkthrough. What the final walkthrough is one more showing before you close on the house. And what you're hoping to get out of this is, if on the inspection report, it says that they're supposed to fix the crack window, and they agree that they will fix the cracked window before closing. That final walkthrough, you're gonna go and you're gonna see that this cracked window is fixed. looks good. All right, we can close. We're good. Now, if you don't have anything coming back from the inspection that's supposed to be repaired before closing, then you're just looking to make sure the house is still in the same condition. And it's really just exciting because you're like, we're moving into this thing in a freaking day. As long as there's no occupancy agreements within the contract, which I'm also not going to get into. There's obviously legs off of everything I'm talking to, but I'm talking to you about, but I'm trying to give you a very generic, just to walk you through what it looks like buying a house. So like I said, if you do not have any occupancy agreements on the contract, you will potentially get your keys at closing. They'll be passed across the table from the sellers. Also, another note, not everyone closes with the seller. Sometimes you can close completely separate just because it fits everybody's schedules better. So yeah, you get your keys at closing, and then you can go and sit in your brand new empty house and eat pizza on the ground. That's what I always tell my buyers to do. And then once that's all done, congratulations, you just purchased your first home. I tried to give you everything in a nutshell as to what it looks like to purchase a home from like a big lens to show you just kind of what it looks like. I'm going to do a video on tips for first-time home buyers when you're walking through a house, because there's so much more details that you can also look for. But that was just like a quick run through, little roadmap of what it looks like and what it means, because you can get into it and you're like, I don't even know what a loan officer does, but I have one. And I know I'm supposed to have a realtor, but she just shows me into houses. I'm not really sure what else she does behind the scenes. So I just want to give you a little update of all of that. I want to give you a little rundown of all of that, just so you have an idea of what it is. Of course, if you're wanting to purchase your first home, all of my information will be in the description box below so that you can reach out to me if you are looking in the Dayton, Ohio market. And other than that, subscribe to my channel, and thank you so much for being here. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.